It starts with Malaysia's most powerful man explaining himself on a private phone call. His voice is careful, measured, almost apologetic. Then his wife cuts him off. "No, listen to me." He tries again. She interrupts him a second time. At that point, Najib Razak stops explaining altogether. He just says, "Okay." Then again, "Okay." This wasn't a private argument. This was a prime minister learning when not to speak. And when Malaysians heard that recording, they understood something terrifying. Malaysia didn't just have a leader. It had a wife who decided when he spoke and when he obeyed. This is the story of Rosmah Mansor, the wife who trained a prime minister to obey. And once the training was complete, the real stealing began. Mahdzir Khalid had one job. As Malaysia's education minister, he made decisions about schools, about children's futures, about how billions of taxpayer dollars got spent on education. In 2016, his ministry received a proposal that should have been routine. A company called Jetpack Holdings wanted to install solar panels in rural schools across Sarawak, the poorest region of Malaysia, schools where kids studied by candlelight because there was no electricity. The project was worth 1.25 billion ringgit, about 300 million US dollars. Mahdzir's team did what they always did. They reviewed the proposal, checked the numbers, asked questions. The timeline seemed rushed. The costs looked inflated. Red flags everywhere. Standard procedure: slow it down, ask more questions, protect taxpayer money. Then Mahdzir's phone rang. This is Rosmah Mansor, the Prime Minister's wife. She didn't waste time with pleasantries. She made it clear the solar project was expected to move forward, quickly. Here's what should have happened. Mahdzir should have explained that his ministry was still reviewing the proposal, that they had legitimate concerns, that rushing a $300 million project wasn't wise. Instead, Mahdzir later testified he felt intense pressure after that call. Within weeks, the project was fast-tracked, but Mahdzir had no idea that his compliance was just the first step in a much larger plan. Because here's the part that should make your blood boil. According to court testimony, Rosmah expected 15% of the total project value for herself. That's 187.5 million ringgit, nearly 50 million US dollars, from a project meant to bring electricity to poor children. She called it a contribution. Think about that for a second. Kids in rural Malaysia were sitting in dark classrooms, unable to study after sunset. Their government finally approved money to give them electricity, and the Prime Minister's wife decided she deserved $50 million of it for doing absolutely nothing. Rosmah Mansor held no government position. She had no authority over the education ministry. She was just someone's wife. But this solar project was just practice. Because once Rosmah learned, she could apply pressure to a minister. She realized she could influence anyone. And if a sitting minister could be trained to comply with one phone call, who else was about to learn the same lesson? Rosmah Mansor was just Rosmah's personal assistant. His job was supposed to be simple: schedule meetings, answer phones, carry bags. But by 2017, Rosmah was doing something that should have been impossible. He was calling senior government officials and conveying Rosmah's expectations about projects worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Picture this. You're a government official. You've worked your way up for decades. Then your phone rings. It's someone's assistant, and he's telling you what his boss expects from your department. One official later testified that Rosmah would call and say things like, "Datton wants this project expedited. Datton expects her contribution. Datton is not happy with the delays." Datton. Like she was royalty. According to court testimony, Rosmah was actively lobbying officials on Rosmah's behalf, pushing for approvals, demanding timelines, making it clear that disappointing Rosmah meant disappointing the Prime Minister. Nobody hung up on him. Nobody said, "Who the hell are you to give me order?" They all just listened, took notes, said yes. Because by then, everyone understood. Officials treated calls from her assistant as if they came from the very top. But here's what those officials didn't know. Many of those calls were being recorded. And Razak wasn't just conveying messages. He was facilitating something that would make Rosmah even more powerful than they could imagine. But if her assistant could influence government officials, what was the Prime Minister himself doing when she called? For years, people whispered about Rosmah's power. Then multiple recordings surfaced, and what they revealed was worse than anyone had imagined. You can hear Malaysia's Prime Minister trying to explain something to his wife. His voice is careful, like he's walking on eggshells. Then she cuts him off. No, listen to me.
Can I advise you something?
He tries to continue.
Anything?
She interrupts again.
You still don't listen to me. You know
At
what?
that point, Najib Razak, the leader of 32 million people, stops talking altogether. He just says, okay, then again, okay.
Okay.
No, I don't like this. Darling, you are the Prime Minister. You should take a chance, not anybody else, okay?
Yep.
Like a child being scolded.
Officials
Officials later identified the voices in court, under oath, but the recordings revealed something even more disturbing. How normal this had become. Nobody in these calls sounded surprised. Nobody questioned her authority. You could hear in their voices that this wasn't new. This was routine. But what investigators found when they followed the money trail would make these phone calls look like child's play. If you want more investigations like this, stories about power, greed, and how elites really operate, make sure you're subscribed. And if you care about building wealth the right way, we've linked world-class investment research from Seeking Alpha in the description. And don't go anywhere. This is where Rosmah's story actually gets crazy. The recordings were shocking, but the money trail was devastating. Court records revealed that Rosmah wasn't just collecting influence. She was collecting cash, massive amounts of it. Remember the JPAC solar project that was supposed to help poor children? Prosecutors were able to prove at least 6.5 million ringgit in cash actually changed hands, a fraction of what witnesses said she demanded. But investigators soon realized that was just the beginning. They uncovered multiple corruption schemes tied to her influence. Money meant for rural development. Money meant for education. Money meant for infrastructure. All flowing toward a woman who held no government position. The scale was breathtaking. Hundreds of millions of ringgit that should have been building schools, hospitals, and roads. Instead, it was funding a lifestyle that would make emperors jealous. Designer handbags worth more than most Malaysians earn in a lifetime. Jewelry collections that could fund entire universities. Properties around the world, while Malaysian families struggled with rising costs. But here's what makes it even more infuriating. She didn't steal this money through complex financial schemes. She took it through simple phone calls. A call to a minister. This project needs approval. A call to an official. Make sure the payment goes through. That's it. No elaborate heists, no sophisticated fraud. Just a woman who had trained people to give her whatever she wanted. While Malaysian families struggled to pay for their children's education, Rosmah was stealing from the education budget. While rural communities waited for basic infrastructure, she was diverting infrastructure funds. While hospitals lacked equipment, she was buying handbags that cost more than medical devices. But the money was just the symptom. The real disease was what she had done to Malaysia itself. In May 2018, something impossible happened. Najib Razak lost the election. For the first time in Malaysia's history, the ruling party was voted out of power. The phone calls stopped. The pressure stopped. The compliance stopped. Rosmah Mansor went from the most powerful person in Malaysia to just another citizen. Within months, she was arrested, charged with corruption, money laundering, abuse of power. In court, the recordings were played. Officials testified. the calls, the demands, the pressure. In 2022, Rosmah was convicted and sentenced to 10 years in prison. As of this video, she remains free while her case moves through appeals. We've told the full story of her greed before. In this video already on the channel, the self-proclaimed First Lady who stole from her nation. But this story wasn't really about one election or one trial. For years, an entire system listened to someone who never needed permission to speak. Not because she was elected, not because she was appointed, but because people learned to answer the phone. And once that habit forms, power doesn't announce itself. It just works. In our next investigation, we'll follow that same pattern again, in a different place, with a different name and a different fortune. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. I'm John. This is Silk Street.